This cool new subclass was just recently published in Tal'Dorei Reborn, which means this subclass is technically homebrew as it is third party and not published by Wizards of the Coast, which means it is not assumed playable at every table. Please consult your DM if you are interested in playing it. However, by the end of this video, I hope to break down the subclass and give my opinion on whether this content is balanced enough and unique enough to include in your home games. Those who channel the magic of life and nature often find themselves drawn to a particular shrine or natural site, binding their body and spirit to places of power. Such druids draw vitality from their chosen location, protecting it with their lives, but not all succeeding in defending these sacred realms. Whether through the subtle corruption of vile magics, the tainted presence of an ancient terror, or a terrible mistake unleashed by druids themselves, a land can become cursed with magic that warps any druid bound to that land. Twisted by their connection to an unhallowed territory, these guardians come to embody the defiled nature they serve, exalting the natural process of decay and using it to further their goals, or sometimes to seek a means to end the curse that plagues them. Right off the bat, the first thing that we get at second level when you take this subclass is Defiled Ground. You can use a bonus action to corrupt a patch of land or an area of water in a 10-foot radius centered on a point within 60 feet of you. This corruption lasts for 1 minute. The corrupted area is difficult terrain for the creatures that are hostile to you. Additionally, when a creature in the area takes damage from an attack or spell for the first time on a turn, it takes an extra 1d4 necrotic damage. You can move this patch of corruption up to 30 feet as a bonus action. Flying creatures are unaffected by the corruption. Starting at 10th level, the area of your Defiled Ground increases to a 20-foot radius. Additionally, the extra damage dealt by your Defiled Ground increases to 1d6 when you reach 10th level in the class, and 1d8 at 14th level. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or a long rest. This is a pretty neat ability. Druids are known for their large amount of battlefield control spells, and this ability further plays on that idea. The extra damage that can be dealt as a result of this area of effect is really incredible. It is important to note that the damage can be dealt by any creature, so long as the target is within the area. The only stipulation is that it is the first time on a turn. This is where it gets pretty interesting. In Dungeons & Dragons, a turn is different from a round. A turn is the time during combat that one combatant can make all of their normal movement, action, and bonus action. A round is when all combatants have taken their turn. This triggering off of turns rather than rounds means that every single party member can benefit from this additional damage. If they have extra attack, they will only benefit on the first damage of the first hit though. That being said, when you factor in a party of 4, that is an average of 10 additional damage per round at levels 2 through 9, an additional 14 damage at level 10, and then finally an additional 18 damage at level 14. Now obviously this damage doesn't scale as well as most people would like. At second level, an additional 10 damage is pretty powerful, but only 14 at level 10 is nothing to write home about. However, even though the assumed damage isn't too crazy, this ability offers you so much more. It also makes it so creatures that are hostile to you need to move through the area as if it were difficult terrain. This is a wonderful quality of life specification, as it means that you don't have to even worry about inhibiting your allies' movements. Now, when you begin to talk about the area of effect spells, that's when you get access to the full potential of this subclass. Let's say you are a level 5 party. The 10-foot radius could hold a maximum of 12 hostile creatures, assuming they're in a big cluster. Now let's say that the wizard in your party casts a fireball spell. Since it will be the first time each of those creatures are taking damage on that particular turn, that will be an additional spread of damage equal to 30. If somehow the other 2 party members had access to an area of effect spell like Fireball, it would deal an extra 90 damage for the round. Now I understand that is a bit of a fairy tale Christmas land that I have stumbled into, but it is interesting to see some of the insane potential that this ability offers. Though I do want to acknowledge that the rules text when a creature in the area takes damage from an attack or spell for the first time on a turn is worded in a bit of a confusing way. When I read it, it seems to me that it operates in the way I just outlined, though I could see an argument that the first time is relative to the area of effect rather than each creature within it. What I mean by this is that you might not be able to damage more than one creature in the area with the extra damage per turn, though it doesn't seem to me like that is the intention here. Overall, I think this ability is really strong and interesting. I love that it takes a bonus action, and I appreciate that it doesn't work on flying creatures. It gives it a natural weakness that makes a lot of sense thematically. I also like that you can move it around. It is regained on a short rest so that you will likely make use of it most combats, and it seems as though you can perform this action in your wild shape, which is honestly just really cool. I give this ability a 5 out of 5. Our next feature is called Blighted Shape. Also at second level, your physical form begins to show the effects of the corruption you wield, tracing black veins across your skin, producing gnarled, bony protrusions, and other eerie phenomena. You gain proficiency in the Charisma Intimidation skill. Additionally, while you are transformed by a Wild Shape feature, you gain a +2 bonus to your AC as gnarled spines protrude from your body. Your beast form also gains dark vision with a radius of 60 feet, or an additional 60 feet of dark vision if it already has that sense. This ability ups the creepy factor of this subclass even more, all while giving very relevant benefits. Gaining proficiency in intimidation checks is not going to do a whole lot for you as a druid, as charisma is very likely one of your lower stats. However, I like that it is in the class as it helps uphold the terrifying nature that the subclass is going for. Additionally, the +2 bonus to your AC is much appreciated. Wild Shape options are fairly infamous for having such a low AC, meaning it can be hard to stay in your Wild Shape. Turning into a wolf at second level when you get this feature will boast you a respectable 15 AC, which has the potential to stave off some attacks. You also gain a dark vision of 60 feet, or an additional 60 feet if your shape already has it. I really enjoy that inclusion, as you can scout far more effectively. Overall, I do like this feature, and I would give it a 4 out of 5, as the intimidation proficiency is a little lackluster, and it would have been nice to see something like being able to use your wisdom for intimidation checks, for example, rather than charisma. Our next feature is only a few levels away at level 6 and is called Call of the Shadowseeds. You learn to summon the feral children of the forest from the life force of your enemies. When a creature that is not undead or a construct takes damage within the area of your Defiled Ground feature, you can use your reaction to summon a blighted sapling in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the creature. You can direct the sapling to make an attack against any creature within 5 feet of it as part of this reaction. The sapling then acts on your initiative, obeying your verbal commands. The blighted sapling remains in your service until it's reduced to 0 hit points, until the end of your next long rest, or until you summon another sapling, at which point it crumbles into foul-smelling mulch. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, regaining all uses when you finish a long rest. The sapling uses the statistics given. Its features scale based on your level and proficiency bonus. So right off the bat, this reminds me of the Hexblade's Accursed Spectre feature. However, this ability is much easier to trigger. Being able to summon your blighted sapling simply off of a creature taking damage from your Defiled Ground means that you will see this feature far more. Additionally, unlike the Accursed Spectre that requires it to trigger off of a humanoid, you can trigger this on all but 2 creature types. Also, when you summon it, you can make an attack with it right away, ensuring that it gets some value even if the enemy creatures try to swiftly take it out in combat. I am really glad that this feature is capped at being used a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest, as if it was any more, I would think it would start to wander into an overpowered territory. When we take a look at the stat block itself, we begin to see that the sapling boasts some respectable stats. Using your spell attack modifier to hit and dealing 2d4 plus proficiency bonus piercing damage adds a little extra damage to the field with no action cost to you, aside from the reaction you use to summon it, of course. Free actions on the field is super powerful in D&D, so getting 3 of these guys per long rest at this level, eventually capping out at 6, is totally worth it. I'm glad that the AC, damage dealt, multi-attack, and hit points also scale with your level. The only and main weakness of the sapling is fire, as it has vulnerability. However, I think that this is super solid design, and I really like to see vulnerabilities being used in 5e more. I give this ability a solid 5 out of 5. Foul Conjuration is our next feature, and it reads, starting at 10th level, the creatures you conjure are malformed and bloated with toxins. Any beast, fey, or plant, including your Blighted Sapling, summoned or created by your spells or class features gain the following traits. Blighted Resilience. The creature has immunity to necrotic and poison damage, and to the poisoned condition. Toxic Demise. When the creature is reduced to 0 hit points, it explodes in a burst of toxic mulch or fetid viscera. Each creature within 5 feet of the exploding creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC, or take necrotic damage based on the creature's challenge rating. See the table. As an action, you can also cause a summoned creature to explode, immediately killing it. This ability is really neat, and I am glad it adds more value upon our Blighted Sapling. The immediate use I can see for this ability is the Conjure Animals spell. At the cost of a 3rd level spell slot, you can conjure 8 giant poisonous snakes. That is already a powerful set of creatures that will provide a ton of value, but also now when they die, you get to have them explode, which is just so gnarly and cool. When you consider Conjure Animals, I think it's easy to see that having more lower CR creatures is much better than having lesser, higher CR creatures. With Conjure Animals, if you use a 5th level spell slot, you can summon 2 CR beasts, resulting in an average damage of 18 necrotic damage from foul conjuration explosions, or you could summon 4 CR1 beasts, resulting in the same 18 necrotic damage. You could also summon 8 CR1 half beasts, resulting in 28 necrotic damage, or finally, you could summon 16 CR1 fourth creatures, resulting in 40 total necrotic damage. Having 16 more actions on the field and over double the damage average is definitely something that is worth it for me to pick the lower CR creatures. All of that being said, I don't think the added immunities or the Toxic Demise are offering a crazy amount of value here. After all, the creature has to die right next to a hostile, and they have to fail a Constitution saving throw. This explosion also hits your allies if they are on the front lines too. Overall, I give this feature a 3 out of 5. Our last feature is called Incarnation of Corruption. At 14th level, your physical form begins to take on the tainted traits of the land you are bonded to. Your skin grows ashen and your eyes darken or turn completely white. Spines and jagged spurs emerge from your body, granting you resistance to necrotic damage and a +2 bonus to your AC. Additionally, whenever you start your turn within the radius of the corruption created by your Defiled Ground feature, you can use your bonus action to gain temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. Unfortunately, this might be my least favorite feature of the subclass. Granting resistance to necrotic and getting a +2 bonus to AC is something that is valuable, don't get me wrong, but I do wish something more exciting took place here. Up until this point, the class has been nothing but wonderfully unique abilities and ideas. These quality of life changes are decent and powerful, but don't evoke a lot of that theming and wonder that I was happy to see in the other features. Being able to add 5 or 6 temporary hit points, whether you are in your wild shape or not, is great, but once again, feels slightly uninspired, which is fairly damning for the homebrew. I give this feature a 3 out of 5. Not amazing, but not worthless either. Overall, I think the Circle of the Blighted Druid is a wonderfully fresh and evokes a lot of the same vibes that I was left wanting from the Circle of Spores Druid. The design of the class builds upon itself in a powerful and satisfying way. I can't think of anything that stands out to me as unbalanced or overly powerful, which is great. The subclass is inspired and mechanically very sound. I would give the Circle of the Blighted Druid a 4 out of 5, and I will personally be allowing it in my games. If you want to see more Tal'Dorei subclasses, go ahead and click the link up above there to browse our playlist. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on your next short rest. I wanted to give a super big shout out to our patrons. If you want your name immortalized at the end of our videos, you can support Short Rest on Patreon at the link down below. Our patrons of local hero tier or above are Painted Sky and Robert Allen Klaus III. Thank you guys so much.